That might sound like far-fetched or like a bit much, like settle down, big guy. That's a lot. It's not that bad. Hi guys. This podcast explores the importance of our connection, well-being, and mental health. To reason with someone is to motivate them to do or accept topics, ideas, and issues through discussion and having conversations. This podcast is for those that want to raise their awareness, change their perspective, or just have a good time. My vision is to help people find reason to live, to grow, and to understand. I do that through this podcast, as well as counselling individuals that want to help themselves.
No, he needs to know.
I just think he's gonna talk and it's gonna make a lot of sense.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
One man, one podcast. 3, 2, 1.
Reason With Me podcast, episode 4.
It's time.
Okay. Another episode today. I am pretty keen to talk about this, what we're going to talk about today, which will be pretty exciting. My plan today is to talk about the struggle with relationship. Yeah, so last episode, I think we talked about codependency being sort of like a side hustle to relationships. And today we'll talk a little bit more about relationships in some more detail. For some of you might be thinking, oh, well, relationship issues. Shit. Well, I don't even have a relationship. That's actually okay. What we will talk about today is how are you when you're not in a relationship? Do you need a relationship? Are you lonely? All that sort of thing. And how comfortable are you with yourself? And I think that's really what this podcast is going to explore a lot of, is how comfortable are you with yourself? Like, what is it about you that you like? What is it about you that makes you go, ooh, yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now? Or just things that you don't even realize that you might get triggered by or stressed out about, and how okay you are with all that stuff. And that's the whole point of Reason With Me, is I want you to try and think about what it is and find something that you can resonate with that I talk about today. So I'm going to have a bit of fun today. I'm just going to talk and y'all gonna listen, and we're just gonna ramble today, and hopefully you pick up some different things. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna change gears a little bit and start talking about the struggle with relationship. The struggle is real, at least for many. Not all, but for many, there's a significant struggle when it comes to relationships. There are patterns of the same old shit giving you the same old results. You might actually not even notice how standard your responses or reactions are to coping with difficult times in and out of relationships, and what that actually looks like. In my opinion, relationships are harder than any addiction. Yeah, I know. Right, cool. That might sound like far-fetched or like a bit much, like settle down, big guy. That's a lot. It's not that bad. You know what? But for some, and definitely for me, it's more complex and more taxing than any alcohol or drug or eating or internet addiction. In fact, what you'll find is the majority of the addictions that I just mentioned are the negative behaviors and coping mechanisms we choose to indulge in or hijack our mind, just to pause the thoughts of the relationship. Well, for some, and definitely for me, it's more complex, it's more taxing than any alcohol or other drug, or eating disorder or internet addiction. What you'll find is that the majority of the addictions that I just mentioned are negative behaviors and coping mechanisms that we choose to indulge in or let hijack our mind, just so that we can pause the thoughts of relationships. Put a tiny little break on relationships. We'll indulge in all this shit. Now, some of you heroes have what we call healthy relationships, and that's a term used by those in toxic relationships or no relationship at all that find really hard to grasp or even conceptualize. healthy relationship. Ugh. What does that mean? There's no drama. There's no unmet needs that linger around like a fly on a hot day. These relationships, they kind of just work, I guess. They're simple, they're content, they're loving. There isn't any doubt, there isn't any mistrust, there isn't any this sitting and waiting and wishing. It just is. That's nice. That's nice. That must be nice. You might be like listening to me speak right now and thinking that, what? My relationship's actually pretty functional. It's the other demons and issues that might be getting in the way of my relationship. And that makes sense as well. You might also be listening to this and resonating with the struggle and the reality that you have some patterns that aren't serving you anymore at all. Now, it doesn't matter which way we slice that pie. Either way, I want you to have a listen to some of the things that I'm about to list and see if you can identify or connect to any of the following. So I want you to really pause and reflect on some of these things. Number one, I find myself repeating the same patterns in relationships. Number two, I struggle being emotionally or physically intimate with my relationships. Number three, I'm either all in or nothing. There is absolutely no in between. Number four, I'm up to four? Okay. Number four, when I am not in relationship, something is missing. There's a gap. There's some sort of blockage. Number five, I have challenges and concerns from the past that keep coming up, and I base my whole world around my relationship. Number five, you have challenging and concerning things from the past that keep on coming up. Number six, I base my whole world around my relationship. When it is lost or at risk, I really struggle. Number seven, things aren't working in my relationship that I need to adjust and improve on. Number eight, I don't know where to go next. Whether it's break up, get back together, move on, I don't know. So that's all eight. Now, the bottom line is relationships are hard work. So keeping them functional and healthy needs consistency and authenticity. Now, there has to be a focus on our connection and intimacy in order for these relationships to actually thrive. Now, a good place to start is actually looking at yourself honestly. Believe it or not. Not your relationship, just you. Yeah, but we're a team, that they're my rock, that's great. But stop that. Look, you've got to look inward, have a moment for you, and just step in the right direction, which is to start checking yourself, right? Facing some of that truth of where you are at. And when you do that, what comes up for you? If you can acknowledge that when you reflect on the points that I've just said, and you connect and resonate with some of them, then you're facing your truth and increasing your self-awareness. If you don't resonate with some of them, then guess what? You're doing all right as well. Still good self-awareness. This may leave you with a curiosity, though, to explore and find out more about you, more about how you work in relationships, and look at, the functionality of all that. From here, the choice is to persevere, set some goals, and inject some hope, some compassion, and some willingness for growth to break the patterns of emotional pain. Like anything, it's a really long road, which you're probably going to go the wrong way sometimes. You're going to go left, you're going to go right. But the best thing to do is to stay present and take an attitude of gratitude, one day at a time, and just figure some of that stuff out slowly. The windows of possibilities and the doors of opportunity might start to open up for you. That's funny. Windows and doors. Anyway, so I guess where do I fit in? My job essentially is to help individuals to find reason to live, right? And grow and to understand themselves in order to flourish and build lasting relationships. That's sort of what relationship counseling is. Now, what can that help you with? What can relationship counseling help you with? That might not be that important to you, but it might be important for somebody else. So hear me out. If you're watching the video, I'm getting a bit flustered talking about this stuff. So what can you get some help with? We look at self-worth. You want to find your own value and stop defining your worth based on others. Huge. We've got to look a little bit more inward in our self-discovery and learning how to put yourself first. Then we've got to look at boundaries. Setting functional boundaries is a really important part of relationships. It's being able to say no, that sort of thing. Talked about that in the codependency podcast. Communication. Shocker, that's in there. Relating to your person and sharing and owning your reality. Huge. Not keeping shit under the rug. Looking at the past. This is a big one. Lots of trauma. Looking at unresolved issues that are impacting your relationship. Then there's trust. Yeah, I know. Another big one. Finding moderated and healthy trust and looking at commitment issues and decision making. Another really important thing to be able to sit down and work on. The patterns. Looking at those repeated patterns that I guess keep coming up and come up for you in every attempt that you try for a relationship. Those patterns just come back. Conflict. Arguing. Neediness, control issues, anger issues, why they're lingering around for your partner or for yourself. Blockages, so finding the answer to some of those hurdles and walls that might be preventing intimacy. That's a big one. Another one, like I talked about at the start, loneliness. Feelings of hopelessness and helplessness with the current situation. Not being in a relationship really makes me struggle or something like that. Then there's infidelity. Rebuilding or letting go after an emotional or physical affair. Love. Believe it or not, work on love. Understanding you though and your partner and the connection between the two. Always looking at number one. Pain. Like to work on the emotional pain of relationships, whether that's breaking up, whether that's helping staying together or resolving some of those issues. Now, these are the big things that we sort of look at when we talk about any relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be with your partner. It can be with mom and dad, sisters, siblings, friends. If you want to find your way in relationships and find out how you can get support, all you got to do is do a little bit of research online. But the other thing is listen to this podcast again. Go through and tick off what it is that you might find. The transcript for this is in one of my blog posts on my website, findreasontherapy.com.au. Now, I sort of specialize in this stuff. Not sort of, I do. I specialize as a therapist in this area. I look at past relationships. I look at the stuff that's happened when you were younger and figuring out all that attachment stuff that's led you along the way and made you do this or this. And for some of you, that's going really, really good. And that's awesome. But there's parts of us that can always grow and always start to flourish and thrive. And there's other stuff that we really go, maybe I need to work on some of that stuff. Relationships are tricky, and that's completely fine. I think that understanding that we bring our whole self right into a relationship, and then we meet somebody else and they bring all of their stuff into the relationship as well, and then we just try and make it work. And a lot of us try and go like this, where we just kind of be enmeshed and we close our fingers together as if we're all a mesh. For those listening to the podcast, intertwining and fitting in with each other. But a lot of the time that brings us more pain, and when we're away from each other. And what we got to learn to do is, I guess, close those gaps and learn how to walk with ourselves, and then start walking alongside relationships and being able to be okay for you so that you can be okay for somebody else. And then you do you and they do them, but you work so beautifully and happily together. And I can't stress the importance of that enough. And something that, we all got to manage and we all got to figure stuff out. So that's pretty much all the struggles of relationship packed into a tiny little podcast. And I plan on talking a little bit more about that. Like I said, I do a lot of work with relationships in my job. So that's one of my passions. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of that in my podcast, and also getting other people's opinions on that stuff as well. So if any of this resonates with you, or you've got questions about, oh yeah, my mum and my dad just haven't gotten along for a really long time, or whatever it might be, literally anything, hit me up, call me, give me an email, findreasontherapy@gmail.com. I'm running groups at the moment that are all about this sort of stuff, learning to be with each other and figuring out what it is that is working and what it is that isn't, and what it is that's from the past and what it is that's, currently in interpersonal relationship we have with each other. And I'm doing one-on-one counseling, and I'm also doing stuff all online as well. So stay tuned for the next podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to talk in here, and comment if you can comment wherever you're listening from or watching from on the video. The video is a bit of fun. I make a lot of hand gestures and all that sort of nonsense, so sometimes that's a bit more fun than the podcast, but maybe the podcast is enough for you, and that meets your needs, and I appreciate anyone that's listening, and I hope that you continue to listen. So I am signing off, and I will see you on the next podcast. Thank you very much. Do you want to find out more about how therapy can help you kick some goals? Go check out findreasontherapy.com.au or the Find Reason Therapy Instagram page.